You were the first guy I can remember who actually physically threw themselves into that vocal technique.
I never noticed. I just, you know,
right.
So.
Hey, well, maybe we're giving you that prop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't think I'm the first person on stage who ever yelled.
No, not yelling, but I mean the technique.
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe your skateboard days.
I had no idea I had technique.
Society's arms of control. Rise above, we're gonna rise above. Think they're smart, can't think for themselves. Rise above, we're gonna rise above. Laugh at us behind our back. Rise above, we're gonna rise above. I get satisfaction in what they lack. Rise above, we're gonna rise above.
Was, you know, the London punk scene, the New York punk scene, the indie scene in Minneapolis during those days, the LA scene, they were all a little bit different. They kind of all had the same kind of mindset. But when the LA thing happened, you guys were taking it and then taking it to a different level.
Well, you know, we were Black Flag was a very insular band, and, you know, our leader was Greg Ginn, who was, you know, thinking, you know, on his own. He's not going to, like, try and sound like, it was impossible for him to sound like anyone. He, you know, you ask him, like, hey, we should cover this song. He's looking at it like, I can't play, huh? He doesn't even know what it means. He just,
right.
You know, if it wasn't a guitar, it would have been a paintbrush or something with that guy, because he had the thing in him. He happened to collide with a guitar. I mean, his brother's Raymond Pettibone, the famous artist. So it's in their genes, I guess, something. But we never sought to be part of any scene. And we hung out with the bands on the SST label, like the Minutemen and
right.
Saccharine Trust and the Meat Puppets and the Descendants. But we never wanted to be part of a movement or anything. And also we lived by the beach, and the Hollywood bands were in Hollywood, like way down the road.
Right.
And they didn't like us. You know, they thought we were bumpkins. And so we were kind of left to our own devices out there near the water, and we would come up with our own music. I mean, mainly Greg would come up with the music. And so we would kind of do this stuff and release these records and never once think about what the public reaction would be. It never occurred to us to go, okay, we need to make the song that's got that, because it just was never in our mind that we're going to get rich doing this, we're going to get famous doing this, and we're going to sell a lot of records if we do that. It was like, we're going to make this record with these songs that we've done, and we're going to put it out and go on tour like we did the time before and the time before. And, you know, someone will go like, man, you did an instrumental on your record, I hate you guys now. You're like, okay.
Right.
We're not, it never occurred to us to go, oh, okay, make note of that. They don't like instrumentals. Okay, no. It never once, not even remotely occurred to us. It doesn't occur to me now.
Right. Well, I think you certainly brought that to the Rollins Band. I mean, the fact that you hired Melvin Gibbs, who was primarily known as a jazz funk bass player with Defunct and all of his other side projects, as well as Charles Gale being on stage, who is as out as you can get in jazz.
Yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you know, you have to be pretty strong-willed and believe in your convictions as an artist just to even make that introduction to your fan base. Which
well,
is
we just do what we want. And our fans at that point know, they just knew, okay, you know, who knows what's coming on stage. And they liked it. I mean, sometimes we'd have Charles Gale and Vernon Reid on stage with us. It was, you know, some great din would come off that stage. Really great bunch, you know, a feast of noise. And we never once thought like, oh, people won't like. We're like, are you kidding? We're making some new music here. Isn't that the thing to do? And so I've never been in a position where I was tempted by the potential of commercial appeal, because it was never an option. You know, it was always, like Lou Reed said, if you're small of fame, you just basically are left to do whatever you want. And that's what he said once. And he said, you know, if I stopped making records, no one would notice. And in that, I just do what I want.
Right.
Because no one really cares anyway. You know, those people who like you, they'll check it out. You could blow on bagpipes if you're Lou Reed, and everyone goes, yeah, he did a bagpipe record. Let's check it out. I'd buy it because it's Lou Reed.
Right.
And so I've always been in that little tiny category where if I stopped doing everything tomorrow, I'd get a few emails. Dude, that would go away in 3 weeks, and the website, no one would go to it. And
Come on, I don't believe that.
Oh, I do. I think people move on, yeah. And now, if you're Ozzy Osbourne, or if you're like Celine Dion, if you're like an institution or someone who's sold a lot of records, there's a big demand. But there's not a real big demand for me or what I do. And doesn't mean I don't think I'm doing something,
I think
good,
you're
good
underselling
work.
yourself.
I don't know about that. But I think that you can just keep doing your thing, and I think there'll always be an audience for someone who is just out there letting her rip,
Right.
And that's why would you want to do anything else? Why would you want to filthify music by not doing what you want? You're betraying it.
Well, fear, I think, for a lot of young bands who listen to the labels and say, you should do this, you should do that. And they think, well, they know because they're in the game.
Yeah.
You need this producer to get to the next step.
Yeah, and there's
No backbone, I guess.
or just the value system has become different, where like you really want to be on MTV, you really want to be the next
celebrity.
Tool,
Yeah.
or you want the money and the chicks and all the trappings of all of it. And when I see MTV, it just looks like sheer misery. Because most of the people you meet there, you say to them, okay, these bands are really lame. They're like, oh yeah, we know. So
Is that sad? I know.
so that's your job, promoting the stuff you don't like. They're like, yeah.
Is the internet a good thing? It's taken away the third wall for a lot of people. They're no longer any gatekeepers. Now kids can make their own music, their own movies, their own videos.
I think mostly it's a good thing. Until the internet thing where like the 40-year-old man preys upon the 15-year-old girl, and
Right.
bad things happen. But there's always been that danger element, because there's always awful people in the world, and they'll use any mechanism they can to achieve the goal. Now sometimes with technology, there's access, but there's also a lack of privacy. Like when the White House could potentially check out every website you've been to, I don't lose any sleep over that, because I know the websites I go to, they're mostly boring.
Right.
But he who stares into the abyss must know that the abyss can also stare into him.
Right.
It's kind of mangling Nietzsche a little, but that's kind of what the internet is to me. You can leave your computer on and someone can, I guess, potentially get into your hard drive. So anytime there's access, well, there's access for everyone else.
Right.
And so you have to just take your media and your technology as you find it and be careful. But I think mostly I love to see all these young people with their album out they made at home, or the film they did, and bang onto a DVD-R and they send it in, and you might have the next Blair Witch. You might have some great young director. Maybe we'll get another Wes Anderson out of the deal, and that's what that's great. Or another Prince. Prince did his record at home. It was a big revelation, and now
every rap artist.
Well, the software he did it on now is like hilarious. It's like, are you kidding? There's way better drum programs than that. My little brother has better,
Right.
But at the time, I was like, he did it at home? And now, man, I hear a lot of records done in people's dens, and they're slamming.
Right.
Good guitar sounds, good drum sounds.
Yeah.
So anyway,
It's a new revolution.
Yeah.
It really is. Henry, thanks for sharing your life.
Well,
Even
no
though
problem.
it was brief.
Well, everything in life is brief.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the Culture Catch. We'll see you soon.
All right.
Good luck.
I'm one of those horrible men who judges women by the most shallow criterion. Don't ever try to judge a woman or anybody by asking them their top 3 records, top 5 foreign films of all time. That's that high fidelity, stupid list shit that some guys do. And I can't be alone. There's at least one moron in here who does that with women. And women have seen everything come by 80 times. And if you say, so what's your top 5 films? The girl goes, oh God, he's one of those guys. I can't wait for this to be over. He's not even getting a hand job. I am out of here. And so every once in a while, I find the girl, we're out on the date, we're driving down the road, and I'm driving, I go, do not ask, don't do the list thing, don't do the list thing, just have a nice conversation, become interested, find something interesting to talk about that we can both talk about. Don't dominate the conversation, don't spin the conversation into things that you know so much about so you can preach stentorian from the mount. Come on, be open, be available. I'm driving, my will is breaking down, and finally, fuck it, I really need to know. So what are the 3 CDs in your changer right now? Well, I'm really listening to the new Nickelback. Get the fuck out of my car!